screen starts glowing, and the film starts rolling. You wanna be knowing what you might be in for. So give the show a listen and find out what you're missing. Put yourself in position for the is a good score.
Hey listeners, welcome to the 202nd episode of The Goods, a film podcast. Today is the last week of a theme month, and that theme month is Dad Month. Dad Month, Brian. How you doing?
Week 5 of Father Month. It's been a good slate. I think we've picked movies that fit well.
Yeah, wide variety of different types and perspectives of fatherhood. But one thing I wanted to start with, Brian. Well, you know what? Let me say a couple things. First of all, the film that we are going to discuss is the 1973 film Paper Moon. So I had never seen this movie before. Brian, had you seen this one before?
Yes, I had seen this at least once, but it's been a while. I remember we watched it. I stayed with my family at a beach house by Lake Tahoe back in like 2010, and we rented this, I guess, and we watched it.
This strikes me as a good beach watch movie. I feel like everyone in the family could like this movie. It's got some dark undercurrents, but I think as we'll see, it's not, I wouldn't call it a dark movie overall.
Yeah, I would say not very dark. It's set at a bleak time period. So like Fiddler on the Roof, this is like an early 70s movie set in an earlier period, but that has, it was made in its time for a reason.
Right. A couple other things going on before we dive into the film. So first is, Brian, we're recording this a couple days after the Oscars. Did you get a chance to watch any of the Oscars presentation?
I watched most of the Oscars. It's such a monumental television broadcast. It's always long. I think I watched like the last 3/4 of it.
It's something like 3 hours and 45 minutes this year. My biggest note from like a presentation format perspective is there were too many dance segments. I didn't need a James Bond dance segment. And then what was the other one? There was something, the Quincy Jones. There was a whole Quincy Jones thing. And like, I like Quincy Jones. We talked about Quincy in the Greatest Night in Pop episode, but it still felt like we were really dragging this thing out. But I thought Conan O'Brien was a very funny host. I thought he was good. And they had a pretty good balance of bits and presenters and stuff. So
yeah, I liked Conan O'Brien crawling out of Demi Moore's skin.
Oh, at the opening. Yeah, that was very good. Yeah, I actually almost texted you about that as I was watching it, Brian.
So I did catch that part, and then I tuned out for a little while, and then I came back.
He had a good monologue where he made a lot of jokes about the Best Picture nominees. So the movie Nora won Best Picture.
It just cleaned up.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 Oscars, I think. And then Sean Baker, because he writes, directs, and edits his own movies, and then he produces them too. He personally pocketed Best Editing, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Picture, since he was one of the producers.
That blew my mind. It's not too uncommon for somebody to do multiple roles like that. Rare that they're winning Oscars for all of them, though. Like, if you're editing your own movie and you're a director, it's like, I don't know that I've seen somebody coming up to get the editing Oscar that also got it for director.
It's definitely uncommon. I would say that this is definitely one of the more indie style pictures that's been picked for Best Picture. I mean, it was made on a lean budget, and not too many people saw it. I think it's like one of the lower grossing, not the lowest grossing, but it's on the lower end for Best Picture winners once you adjust for inflation. But it's definitely got the indie spirit too, because it was very bootstrapped, low budget. The same group of people kind of did all the tasks. You know, he wrote it, directed it, edited it. There's like a small handful of producers who make all of his projects together. The cast was apparently really tight. So I think it's cool from that perspective. The material itself's a little transgressive, and I had mixed feelings about. I would give Anora a middle-ish 5 out of 8 on our Is It Good scale. I thought it was okay, and I thought there was also some stuff about it that didn't work. All of Sean Baker's movies, this guy who made this movie, kind of have similar vibes where they're kind of transgressive and about these outsider type characters, but also have kind of this warmth and naturalism to them. But it's not that warm. It's still kind of got bite to it. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And this one was about a sex worker. Most of his movies are about sex workers. A lot of nudity and stuff in it. It's definitely a heavy R film. It also won Best Actress for Mikey Madison in the lead. I would have picked The Substance if it were me, Brian.
Yeah, I wanted The Substance to get everything it was up for. But the one that I called when we talked nominations, I said it had to win for makeup, and it won for makeup. So
there you go. Nice work.
Although that other one, the other Crazy Face movie, what was that one? Different Man, that also had bonkers makeup. So if that had one, I wouldn't have been mad.
Yeah. I sent that one, a recommendation on that one to you after I watched it. What kind of blew my mind about A Different Man is if you like take at a high level the outline and like remove character names and setting specifics, but like outline the approximate narrative and themes, it's pretty much exactly The Substance. It's got an actor who thinks that they look ugly and injects new age medicine and then literally emerges from their dead skin. People don't recognize them as the same person. They go on to have immediate success and romance, and then things go sour for them, and then there's a big implosion on stage, and it's their tragic downfall, ultimately.
Yes, very similar. Very, very interesting. There's like some synergy under the surface. My thought, though, was that, like, Sebastian Stan, you're too hung up on this one girl. It's like, go out and live your life. It's like you're Sebastian Stan now. Your whole world has been opened up. It's like, just go somewhere and do something else. It's like, you don't need to be so down about this one relationship.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I just found him pretty unlikable, which kind of dragged down the whole movie. And like, I didn't find the ending as cathartic as The Substance, but despite having basically the same story, their presentations just couldn't be more different. Like, one of them is kind of a grungy 90s indie movie, and one of them's a glittery blood spatter French maximalist satire. They couldn't be more different despite having pretty much identical log lines. It's almost like an experiment. Like, give the treatment to two different directors and see what comes out of it, you know?
I love The Substance. I don't know if I said it in the Substance episode or since, but Barbie with a blood hose, I think, captures it. It's like the colors. So it was colorful from the beginning, and then suddenly there was a ton of blood.
Yeah. I also, a late riser on my end of year list was Nosferatu, which I don't know if it ended up winning any. It got nominated for a couple, and I thought was just so much fun.
Right. I thought that had a good chance at production design, but I think production design ended up going to Wicked, which I haven't seen yet. I need to watch.
Yeah, it's worth watching just so you've seen it. You know, I think we've already talked about it some. But that was the Oscars. I now look forward to them more than I pretty much ever have, even though I still think they're kind of stupid and make a lot of wrong choices and are just so susceptible to narratives and headlines and interviews and what happens in other award ceremonies and stuff. So it's not really, like, in a vacuum, it should be what is the best of the year, but it's not that. And I don't know why this one bothers me more than other things, but like, why can't people just write down what they think the best movies of the year are? And then that's what we award. Why is there this whole campaigning thing going on? I don't know. But I guess it's what Hollywood is, Brian.
Yeah. It's whining and dining. It's a closed shop.
As they say in La La Land, Technicolor world made out of music and machine.
I sent you a reel or something, a little snippet from behind the scenes of La La Land where it's the camera guy doing whip pans and like Damien Chazelle is tapping him when, okay, whip pan now. And
I've seen that before. It's so good.
It was a good clip.
Yeah. But Brian, this is also the last week of Dad Month. And so one thing we tend to do at the end of a theme month is reflect on other movies that we might have picked had this theme month stretched out longer. Only once have we actually stretched out the theme month longer. But we always like to think about what it might be. So, Brian, did you have other films that you were considering had we stretched this out to more than just 5 weeks?
There was something. Fiddler on the Roof ended up replacing it, and now I'm blanking on what it was gonna be.
What you said it had a problematic actor in it.
Oh, yes. I'm glad that you brought that up. It was Jeffrey Jones starring in Mom and Dad Save the World, which is like a science fiction comedy where John Lovitz plays a space emperor who abducts the mother of the family, and then Dad has to go get her back. I think the mom was Terry Garr. And it has like some interesting like puppet effects. Kind of in the vein of Galaxy Quest, but with less of the CGI. I don't know. It's one I saw on TV back in the day, and it had Dad in the title, but I'm glad that you remembered the little snippet that I said. What about you? What was next on your list?
Well, I had two movies that I very strongly considered because of recent passings in the movie world. One of them is, and I almost picked this for this week, but I settled on Paper Moon, which was my initial idea for my third Dad Month pick. But it is David Lynch's Eraserhead, which I have never seen.
Oh my God. Now that you say that, I almost would be in favor of going an extra week, because Eraserhead would be so perfect for Dad Month. How did I never think of that?
I don't know. Yeah, I was... So I assume, like, I think the weird thing is his child, right?
Right.
So, like, it's about fatherhood. But I wasn't 100% sure, and I didn't want to spoil myself too much on it, so I didn't read too much about it. But I figured it was about fatherhood, at least somewhat.
That would have been a really, really good one.
Okay. The other one is Gene Hackman just passed, and I was going to pick The Royal Tenenbaums. At least I considered it, which is Wes Anderson's, I think, third feature film. And it stars Gene Hackman as the grandfather, the patriarch, and he's kind of this deadbeat. Have you seen this one, Brian?
No, I hadn't heard of it before your brother brought it up in the Discord.
And it's quite good. So he's a dad, and some of the children, the adult children, which include Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson. Oh, wait, no, Owen Wilson is like a friend. And Gwyneth Paltrow is the sister. And then Luke Wilson is a brother, I think. It's something like that. But Ben Stiller is in it, and he plays a dad who, he and his sons always wear these matching set of athletic suits. It's like a early Wes Anderson kitschy thing. It's kind of fun. But that one's kind of interesting. That would have been an interesting conversation as well. It might have been a little too redundant to our Wes Anderson conversation, but yeah. And then the last one that I was thinking about was the Matt Damon film, We Bought a Zoo. I think he's a dad in that one, and he like deals with his relationship with his kids. And he buys a zoo in it, at least I'm guessing, based on the title of the film.
Yeah, seems like a good guess. My anecdote about that one, I haven't seen it either. But one time I went to a yard sale, and I had my brother in the car, and I bought a door, like a wooden standard size door for your house that would go in a door frame. And Andrew said they could make a movie about us called We Bought a Door, which I thought was simultaneously kind of stupid and very funny.
Double bill, We Bought a Door, and Jenga Club.
But two other movies that I considered for the Dad slate, now that my memory is jogged, were Father of the Bride, which I think has Steve Martin, and also Three Men and a Baby.
Oh, good ones, good ones. I vaguely thought about The Pursuit of Happiness with the Will Smith one, but I don't know. I felt like I didn't know if that would give us new stuff to talk about. We already had kind of a sentimental dad one with the opening week.
But that one has a real-life father and offspring starring, right?
Oh, you're right. Yes, it does. Yeah.
Ties us back to Paper Moon.
What a transition. It's almost as if I planned it, but I didn't. So thank you for calling it out. So Paper Moon stars Tatum O'Neal and Ryan O'Neal. And they are a father and daughter in this. Although it's interesting, the characters, it's left ambiguous whether they're actually genetic father and daughter. And so we'll talk about how this occurred here in a moment, how there could be ambiguity on that matter. I mean, it's really not that hard to guess, but so this movie was made by Peter Bogdanovich, who was one of the kind of new Hollywood directors. I think he's actually was known as a writer before he became a director. He had a lot of people in the 50s, 60s, 70s who were writers, critics before they became film directors. Like a lot of the French New Wave directors started as writers for that French magazine, but there was an influential French magazine about film. It's like Cahiers du Cinéma or something like that. So Peter Bogdanovich, he made a couple other movies you might have heard of. He made The Last Picture Show. He made What's Up, Doc? And he continued making movies from the 70s through the 2010s. I think his last movie came out like in 2014 or something. So he was making movies for over 40 years. So he had a long, productive career. But this film, Paper Moon, it was something like his third or his fourth movie. It's 1973. And it is shot in black and white. Like you said, it takes place during the Depression, the Great Depression. And it was a big hit. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, not Best Picture, but Best Supporting Actress for Tatum O'Neal and Madeline Kahn, who is like a tertiary actress in this. And then Best Screenplay, Best Sound. So I guess you would call that 4 nominations, even if there's 2 in the same category.
Right. And it won for Tatum O'Neal. And she was the youngest supporting actress ever to win, youngest actress, period, to win, and in fact, youngest Oscar winner in any category ever to date.
Right. Any competitive category. They might have done like I always see them put an asterisk with like competitive category. So I'm wondering if there was some honorary Oscar that was given to someone younger.
Oh, yeah. Probably Shirley Temple or something.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, so she might have only been like 10 years old or something like that. It's kind of crazy. I think she was 10. Let me look up when she was born here.
I think that's right.
She was born in 1963 and the film came out in 1973. So she won it when she was 10 years old. That's pretty crazy. And the movie made a decent amount of money. It made $30.9 million in 1973 dollars. Speaking of conversion dollars, there's a lot of dollar amounts thrown around in this film. And I think I'm going to pull up a inflation calculator because I think when I did, I was surprised how much it was. I was like, why does he care so much about whether it's $12 or $24? But then it's like you multiply it by 20 or something like that. So it's really the difference between $200 and $400. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a little more sense.
I was even surprised they're playing, cons on people where they're like taking $5 and $10 bills. And I was wondering like how many people would even have $5 and $10 bills to hand when everything costs like 5 and 10 cents.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's look it up. Inflation calculator. Here we go. Okay. If we have $5 in
1936 is when it says
36.
I don't know if they ever say that in the movie, but I was reading about it on Wikipedia. and the like fancy car that he gets halfway through is a 1936 car. They talk about Roosevelt, but Roosevelt was in office for a long time.
Yeah, that gives you like an era. That doesn't give you a. It's not like the. Let's see, who would be useful?
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, exactly.
A one-term guy, not a four-term guy.
The William Henry Harrison era. But okay, so $5 in January 1936 is equal to $115 in January 2025. So yeah, more than 20x. Jeez. That's a lot of money, Brian. $5, like when they're doing these scams to like turn $5 into $10, they're stealing like $100 there. It's not just chump change.
Right. That's kind of what I felt like going to Europe, and suddenly they've got coins that go up to like the €2 amount. That's like $5. And, you know, at the beginning, I was like giving those to street performers. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is real money. We're used to in America, you only get to real money once it's paper.
Right. Change is just invisible pretend money. So am I wrong, or did Trump say he's going to get rid of the penny?
Yes, getting rid of the penny. Although, if you read into it, even the nickel costs more than it's worth. So maybe we should just jump straight to dimes being the smallest ones. Yeah.
Also, representatives of our government say a lot of things, and that doesn't necessarily mean those things get done. And I'll leave it at that. So this film opens, it's shot in black and white like a film from the 30s would be. Beautiful black and white, by the way. I think this has outstanding cinematography.
Yeah, the camera work is great. And I wonder if this was like right after the invention of the Steadicam or something, because the camera is just always moving, and it's like these long, uninterrupted takes.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I was just like soaking it in. Like sometimes I'll be like driving or walking outside. I'd be like, oh my God, like I want this frame hanging on my wall. It's beautiful.
Right. It's like every scene is a walk and talk, and the camera will just go with them. Or yeah, driving. And I didn't get the impression that it was like, you know, you see some movies from like the 50s and 60s where like it's some kind of weird rear projection where the car is just sitting in a warehouse and like the surroundings are simulated. I got the impression that the camera was actually strapped to the car and they were driving somewhere.
Completely agree. Like even watching Alfred Hitchcock movies, he did a lot of shots of people driving, but it was always that rear projection. So I'm always looking at it like, well, she's not actually driving. That's what I'm thinking as like this really important dramatic moment, like this tense, oh, it's Psycho. She's running away with the money. Is she going to get away with it? Like, well, hold on now. She's not driving. Look, I can see. It's like it's not bouncing the way that the car is bouncing, you know? It's like you can always tell when you're looking at it and it's fake, but this doesn't have that. This you're always right immersed right into it. But it starts at a funeral, and this woman has passed away, and it's a very small attendance at her funeral. And we quickly gather that this woman who passed away was not considered a contributor to society.
A woman of ill repute.
Yeah. And this one guy who shows up is Ryan O'Neal, the actor, and his character's name is Moses Prey. So one thing I was wondering, Brian, is we're going to learn that this guy's a con man. And in fact, his main con is selling Bibles. This surely is not his real name, right? Like he must have adopted this name.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we're to believe that that's his real name. I guess this was adapted from a novel called Addie Prey, which is the name that the little girl takes on. Yeah.
Because another person at this funeral is a young tomboyish girl. I say that, I mean, you know, when you're that young, it can be hard just by looking at like your face and your build, whether you're a man or the boy or a girl. But she also has this short hair.
And she wears overalls all the time.
Yeah.
And like farmer plaid shirts.
And her name is Addie, and she's played by Tatum O'Neal, like we said. And she's the one who won the Oscar. And yeah, so she is Ryan O'Neal's daughter. So they're a father-daughter acting duo here. But the thing is, what we gather basically is that, again, this is a woman of ill repute, as you said. She spent a lot of time in bars, which, you know, we can maybe infer to mean she was what you might call a woman of the night, perhaps a prostitute, or just a floozy, you might say, someone who was always hooking up with different guys because they don't know who the dad is for this daughter.
Oh, that reminds me. Another one I considered for this month was Mamma Mia, where you've got paternity in question.
Oh, yeah. So the question is, well, is he actually the father? But we learned that this Moses, he goes by Mose, at least to Addie. Addie calls him Mose, which just makes me think of Ned's Declassified
School Survival Guide.
Yeah, where there's one of the main characters goes by Mose as well. We learned that Mose at one point had a fling, but maybe more than a fling. He kind of doesn't like to talk about her, but he clearly like knows who she is well enough that he like showed up for her funeral and knows like some of the family and or like her history at least. And I don't know, it's a little ambiguous, almost I would say intriguingly so, whether it was just a fling and he happened to be around, or whether maybe he loved her and that's why he showed up or something. Would you agree that that's not very clearly defined here, Brian, or did you read it one way or the other?
No, I agree. It seems like she meant something to him. I think he defends her at one point. And yeah, he was around. And he seems to be a tumbleweed in the wind. Like he could be anywhere, but he's here in this moment. So somehow he found out about it.
And at the gravesite, some of the people from the town who are, again, it's not too many people at the funeral, but some of the people there basically talk Mose into making sure that Addie, this girl, gets to her aunt's. Her aunt is going to be her guardian. And we take it to be like a several-hour drive away, or perhaps a train ticket away to get to, I think it's in Missouri. I don't know exactly where they are. I think it's Kansas, but they have to get to Missouri.
I think so.
Yeah.
So it ends up being another road movie, like Goofy Movie.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't know it was going to be a road movie when we put it on, but I think it's very different in flavor from a Goofy movie. So now we have Addie and Mose driving down the road. Mose is going to try and dump her off as quickly as possible, but before he does that, we basically get to see firsthand that he's a con man, he's a liar, he's always finding a way to get a couple of bucks from someone. And he starts this by basically, it kind of happened quickly. It wasn't clear exactly what the accusation was, but he goes to someone's place and essentially accuses him of being a drunk driver, or like his brother being a drunk driver. And that's why the woman died. And now he claims he's going to be taking care of the girl and he needs money for it. So this guy gives him $200 to Mose. And, you know, Mose tries to get more, but it ends up being $200. And so you're like, well, $200, that's not very much. That seems like, you know, like if you were to go to a baseball game now, you might spend $200 on the ticket and the ride and the parking and the concessions. It's like, well, $200 to take care of a kid. But then remember the inflation calculator, it's more than 20x. So that's $4,000 that he gets from him. So not chump change.
Right. So, and the transaction is kind of like, you know, it's under duress, and it's like initially asks for more, but okay, I'll take what you can get. It's kind of like if you bump cars together on the side of the road and you're like, look, I don't want insurance to get involved in this, so just give me what you got. That kind of arm twisting. So
now Mose is $200 richer. So even before he takes Addie to the train station, he goes and he buys a new car. And it's like, I get like all old cars look kind of the same to me, but I think this is like a kind of swanky one, which he buys for like $100, which even adjusted for inflation, I feel like cars have gotten a lot more expensive, you know?
Yeah. And it may just be that he tricked out the car that he had, but it's like, because he's like kicking the tires. So I thought maybe he had just gotten all new tires and like new brass work, or just like gotten it all overhauled.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
But it's definitely a big upgrade.
Right. And it's like luxurious, you know? It's clear that he's basically exploited this girl to get himself a fancier car, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he's about to go dump her off at the train station. And meanwhile, Addie is not enthused about this. She basically says, hold on, you owe me $200. Those are my $200. If you're not going to take care of me, you don't get the $200. I get the $200 because that was aimed for me, and you lied about taking care of me. And so we get a lot of these scenes. You're right, they're like mostly long takes of the dad and of Mose and Addie arguing, haggling here, talking about what they're going to do next and like who gets what and who does what, which is kind of the bread and butter of this film. Is like them bantering and planning their next scheme ultimately, because he's trying to get her on the train, but she says that she basically talks him out of it. It's like, until you get me my $200 and then we'll be good to go. And so now Addie and Mose are going to be stuck together because he doesn't have the $200. He spent it on the car. And so he's kind of reluctantly taking her along. But we also gather there's like this undercurrent of something here. It's like he sort of feels an affection for her, that it comes up before too long. Well, hold on. Are you my dad? You met my mom in a bar, quote unquote, in a bar, which, you know, it means that they had a fling. They hooked up at a bar under the influence of inebriating substances. And I don't think even he knows for sure whether Addie is his daughter. So there's also like kind of this turmoil for him. Like, you're right. He's a tumbleweed. He flows in and out of town. How much should he be responsible for taking care of her? So we kind of have this interesting dynamic where they're sort of drawn to each other, but also it's in their instincts to be kind of transactional and not attached to each other, you know? Because we also detect from Addie that with her mom being an unreliable person, that she's kind of had to be independent and strong and kind of detached herself, you know? So what did you think of their relationship, their dynamic in these bantery scenes, Brian?
Yeah, I think the dynamic is really good. The acting is strong, especially from Tatum O'Neal. Just the ability to do these long conversation scenes uncut shows a deftness of acting talent. And like Ryan O'Neal, he's funny, but I think the real star is Tatum O'Neal. She's just always determined and always cunning.
It's definitely an upper tier child performance, because she really is a child. It's not like you know how sometimes when it's like a character is playing a teen, it's really an adult playing the teen, you know? She won the Oscar at 10 years old. She is a kid. And it's just like not an easy performance. Like there's a lot that she has to do.
She has to smoke a lot.
That too. So one thing you'll hear when you read about Tatum O'Neal is, as with many childhood stars, she had a rough later life. Like her dad, Ryan O'Neal, got addicted to drugs, and then I think she got into drugs, and Hollywood was not very kind to her. I haven't read too much about the specifics of the allegations, but I imagine like she probably had access to a lot of drugs and alcohol, and who knows, maybe like older men hitting on her when she was younger and stuff. It probably was not a fun or easy childhood for her. And famously, she and Ryan O'Neal just completely cut off conversation with each other, didn't interact for decades after. I don't think immediately after this, but I think like within 10 years after this, they had a falling out. Eventually, they kind of mended it before Ryan O'Neal died. But Tatum O'Neal's still alive. I'm pretty sure Ryan O'Neal passed away. I'm just going to double check that. Yeah, he died in 2023, so not too long ago. And so now Addie's just kind of hanging on until she gets her $200, at least ostensibly. She's waiting until Mose has enough money to get the $200, and then she's on her way. But of course, she gets sucked into his orbit, his whole con man lifestyle, going from town to town, house to house, figuring out a way to get a few bucks here, a few bucks there. And his main con is, I guess he like goes through news articles or something, registries or something.
Yeah, he reviews obituaries to find people who have recently died, and like it'll say they were survived by and it'll list some family members. And so then he'll go to the house of the person who died posing as a Bible salesman and say, oh, I have an order here to fill from the person who died. And they actually still owe me, what, like $5, $8, some amount. And they had it dedicated to the name of the person survived by. So it's like, you know, it's like a specially engraved Bible supposedly dedicated to the person who is still living from this recently died relation that now the survivor is allegedly on the hook for.
Right. These are kind of always interesting to watch because he pretty much universally in this film gets away with them. I mean, there is eventually a reckoning, as we'll see, but he almost always is able to talk his way into it. And we get some scenes early on with Addie kind of watching, learning more about it, and a couple times like saving a deal that seems like it's falling through. Or once or twice, she'll like detect, oh, this person clearly has money, and like suggest a higher price. And it's funny watching Ryan O'Neal kind of react to this because on one hand, it's like hurting his pride a little bit because she's kind of swooping in and is basically as good or better at what he's doing, you know, or at least like is complimenting him and as if he needs her.
Right. She's the real brains.
And this kind of mirrors their relationship where he wants to be a lone wolf, but she compliments him and provides him company and companionship. And even though he's like not a good influence in many ways because he's a con man and stuff, there's some really great shots of like her looking longingly at him, and like almost not longingly necessarily, but like appreciatively. She really does. Tatum O'Neal really does a great job of like showing just enough cracks in her stony gaze to indicate the childlike warmth under her. And yeah, she smokes a lot of cigarettes too. That's always kind of because it really looks like she's smoking it. Like she's lighting the cigarettes, she's puffing, and smoke's coming out of her mouth. I think she was smoking these, Brian.
It seemed like it.
Wild West 1970s. I've heard that some people like barely even believed how fast smoking kind of went out of vogue. Like it really was a miracle of marketing that they could make smoking seem so bad. It took like 20 years or something from everybody smoking.
Yeah, it was kind of an overnight switch. I mean, I remember in the 90s there being smoking sections at restaurants, and then that just evaporated.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a federal law or just most states at this point, but most places you can't even smoke inside anymore, like at all. There's no smoking sections, like bowling alleys. My mom used to hate to go to because everybody smoked in them. I'm pretty sure you can't smoke inside anywhere, at least in Virginia. I mean, of course, your own house, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so I visited Europe, admittedly a while ago, like 15 years ago at this point, but smoking much more popular, much more enduring there, it seemed.
Yeah.
I think also in China, a lot of smoking. I also read an article recently, and I'll point you guys to the article in the Discord or something, but it said that among the LGBTQ population, much, much higher prevalence of smoking.
Interesting. I also listened to an interview. At this point, it was probably more than 10 years ago. And it was some comedy actor. I don't even remember who it was. And they were talking about their experience filming a movie. And he said something like, and of course, it was Hollywood. So literally everybody smoked. But I didn't smoke yet. And so I kind of felt out of the loop because everyone else in the cast would go on a smoke break together. So that's when I kind of learned that apparently in Hollywood too, this maybe is less true than it used to be. They're better about taking care of their bodies and all that. But I think it also used to be a Hollywood thing that all actors smoked. And you still occasionally see paparazzi photos of actors smoking.
And I hear that grips smoke. The people who like set up things, sandbags and various things on the set. Like the Teamsters, the film Teamsters are still smokers.
So one thing I wonder is if you ever are around someone who smoked, you kind of immediately know, like you can smell it, So was that always the case, or was it one of those things where you just kind of got used to it and you didn't really notice it anymore?
That's a good question. I mean, I can only imagine that the whole world must have smelled like it, because that to me is the biggest thing. They talk about secondhand smoke causing sickness or whatever, having health effects on people who aren't smoking themselves, but it just makes everything stink. And I feel the same way about weed, honestly, is it just makes the whole area smell.
Yeah. It's not uncommon. We live near DC, Brian. It's not uncommon to like walk down the street and like all of a sudden pass a group of people and probably just one of them smoked. But like it's overpowering, the smell of it.
Yeah, it's a cloud. My brother says it smells loud when that happens. It smells loud in here.
That's funny. So anyways, in Paper Moon, the way it's building is Addie is getting in on the scams with Mose. And one scam they like to do is the quick change scam is what Wikipedia calls it. And it's basically like as you're doing a transaction with someone, you kind of like, as they're giving you change, you're like, hold on, actually, I want a different arrangement of bills. And you do it in such a way that you end up getting more money than you spent. Like basically you cheat them out of money by tricking them with the change.
Right. I think it was hard to follow. It was like the shell game, and I think that's by design.
Exactly. I was going to say, yeah.
It makes it hard. It makes you confused, and so I didn't quite keep up with it. I think he gave her $4 and ended up with $10.
Okay.
It was something like that. So he took more money than he gave her. That's the point. The receptionist, the cashier.
Right, because it would be like, here, I'll give you $5. Oh, wait, no, can you actually give it back to me in a different arrangement? Oh, actually, you know what? Here's 5 more, but you're just giving back the same money. Can I actually get it as a $10 bill or something like that? And so you kind of do that back and forth, and like you inadvertently trick someone like, oh, here's my money that you were giving back to me, but I'm saying it's additional money. And so give it to me in a different bill that it basically accounts for more, Right.
So it might have been 5 for 10, gave 5, got 10.
Yeah. And there's a later one where I think what happened was the dad, Mose, goes in and spends a 20, or maybe just saw the $20 bill and like had written a note on it from your aunt something. And then Addie goes in and pays with like a $1 bill or a $5 bill and says, no, I want my 20. And throws a big fit. And so they're like, well, how do you know it's your 20? It's because I got it from my aunt, whatever. And so then they look at the $20 bill and it's been written from aunt, whatever. So they like sneak $20. Again, $20 is, we're talking $400 in modern day money. So like, that's like a day's paycheck of you're just doing this right, more than. So this kind of goes on for a while. This is a little bit of an episodic movie.
I feel like road movies tend to be.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's little scenes.
Right.
And then you get in the car and you go somewhere else and have another scene.
So one turning point comes when they go to this fair. And this is where the Paper Moon title comes from. Because there's a photo booth where you can get your picture taken with the Paper Moon. And it seems like Addie is going to get her picture taken with Mose, but he like doesn't show up for it, or he like brushes her off. So she just gets the picture taken by herself.
But on the DVD case, it's both of them, and it never happens. So it's like, that's what they're promising you, and you don't get it.
It was sad. But sometime around this fair, Mose, who again, tumbleweed, you said, and part of being a tumbleweed is he finds women like Addie's mom who hang around bars and like hooking up with swaggering tumbleweeds like Mose, and meets this woman who's played by Madeline Kahn named Trixie Delight. And again, I think that we are to accept this as a stage name. She's like a burlesque dancer or something along those lines, an exotic dancer.
Right. He finds her. This scene where they have the paper moon is at a carnival. So they got, old timey carnival stuff. I was digging it. And he keeps going in and out of this like Dancer of the Seven Veils tent. It was very much like that Disney one we watched in October. Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of the guys, his hang up is the dancers in the carnival tent.
And for something totally different as a connection, the thing with they're at a fair and they're kind of like reluctantly there, but it's also like a symbol of a parent kind of accepting his role as the family leader, a reluctant parent, is Despicable Me, which would be an interesting Dad Month movie. Talk about the ways in which Gru becomes a father, the Steve Carell voiced guy. That's the Minions movie. But there's one of the scenes I like in that movie, which I'm kind of mixed on that movie overall, but one of the scenes I like is this fair where he's looking after these three kids and he kind of becomes defensive when one of the carnies cheats one of the girls there. So I was thinking of that as well, because you have like a reluctant dad at a fair.
I think that would be a good Dad Month pick. You're convincing me. It's like, oh man, there are more dad movies.
Parenthood is a theme in a whole lot of films, yeah. But anyways, Mose meets this Trixie Delight, and there's this young black woman. I think she's like a teenager, a few years older than Addie, who's like Trixie Delight's assistant, sort of, and just kind of hangs around with her. Apparently, her mom kind of like is like, oh, she can go on the road with you and help you out and see the world or whatever. But Addie and her, it's Imogen, Imogene.
Yeah, so the way that I wonder how it's supposed to be pronounced, but the way that Madeline Kahn says it is like Imogene.
Imogene? Okay.
Now Imogene.
That's right. Yeah, now that you said, I can hear her saying that. And so now we have this kind of middle stretch with the four of them on the road instead of just the two of them. And Addie does not like Trixie. And it's kind of interesting why. I mean, first of all, Trixie's annoying. That's part of it. She talks down to Addie, but also like, oh, someday you'll grow up to be just like me. You'll have big curves like I do. And stuff like that. But also, Trixie's kind of thrown off the good father-daughter vibes. It's like Addie was digging, going out doing cons with her dad and pulling it off and getting money, and their reserves were going up, up, up. They like at one point talked about having like $600, And it kind of felt like a good thing was building, and now here comes Trixie and throws it off. And one thing about Trixie that I was scratching my head on and finally it clicked for me is she constantly talks about having to go to the bathroom, or as she calls it, winky tink, which is just very annoying to hear her say winky tink over and over again. You can see how it would get on Addie's nerves. But I think the reason that they constantly reference her having to go to the bathroom is like a suggestion that she had an STD before people really knew what STDs were.
Oh, I could see that. I thought maybe she was also doing some kind of drugs.
Oh, yeah, it could be that as well. Yeah. But this encounter comes to a head in one of the few times we have to see Addie basically do the con on her own. Because she's basically going to trick her dad into realizing that, hey, maybe you don't want to be hanging out with a floozy. Maybe that's not who you want to be pinning your life to. So there's this, they stay at a hotel, and there's this front desk guy who lustily eyes Trixie. And basically, Addie sort of manufactures a prostitute hookup between the front desk guy and Trixie, and then makes it so that Mose kind of walks in. But it's almost like a mini heist, because they have like this whole, her and Imogene have to work together to get everybody to think that it's safe at every point, like has to trick everyone. So it's kind of satisfying and fun to watch.
Right. There's a couple layers to it, because it's like basically they tell the desk clerk that Trixie likes you and wants to hook up with you. And they tell Trixie, the desk clerk wants to hook up with you and is also going to give you a lot of money. And she's like, oh, okay. And so presumably he only finds out about the price tag after the act.
Well, I thought there was an element to it where like, because remember they have like $600. I think.
Oh, you think it's prepaid?
Yeah, like or at least some of the money was like slipped in one of the fake notes that they wrote between each other or something like that. That Addie pulled out.
Gotcha. I liked this guy at the desk. I kind of felt bad for him. I mean, I guess doesn't matter, had sex, right? It works out okay for him in the end.
He got what he wanted, yeah.
But I like his big mustache. He seems like a guy who does his job, because at first he's like, no, I can't just come and mess around with a client. Like, my job is to be at the desk.
But he does have this big, toothy, smarmy smile that's kind of funny. Where you can see why he was cast as like a lascivious fellow. There's just something about his grin that makes him seem seedy. But I like this character too. I thought he was good. They convince Trixie that Mose is gone for the day, but then Mose is just eating breakfast or something. By the way, good breakfast buffet. And then he goes and walks in on Trixie canoodling with front desk guy.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the breakfast, actually, because there was a lot of food in this movie that I wanted to eat. At one point, like, the very first thing he does when he picks up Addie is he takes her for Coney Island. So, like, a hot dog with a bunch of fixings.
Mm-hmm.
Says, I'm going to get you a knee-high and a Coney Island. Have you ever had knee-high soda, Dan?
Is that just like a...
It's a brand. So it's spelled N-E-H-I, but they pronounce it knee-high. And, like, the iconic flavor is peach, which they still make. I don't know if at one point there were other flavors.
Interesting, okay.
But you can get it at, like, Cracker Barrel, where they sell the vintage sodas.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you could pick up a Cheerwine and a knee-high.
Cheerwine is a Southeastern drink, and some people I know who were from the Southeast, like in college and stuff, were just obsessed with Cheerwine. It was, like, part of their personality level, you know?
I like Cheerwine. I've gotten it since I've been down to Williamsburg for undergrad.
It is pretty good. And to be fair, my dad made liking Dr. Pepper part of his personality. One of my anecdotes on that is, I don't quite know the specifics. My dad worked for the federal government, and he worked for the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, and he eventually became an executive at the EPA. And at one point when he was kind of rising the ranks, he got invited to do this management program where for like a couple weeks he worked at a company and like kind of observed a management style. I don't know specifically what this program was, but he somehow arranged it that it was Dr. Pepper. That was the company that he observed the management style. Or like, I don't know if he worked for them or just met with some of the managers or stuff, but the result was he flew down to Texas a couple times and brought back Dr. Pepper swag. Got like Dr. Pepper clothes and some of the... Back when it was less common to have unusual varieties, he brought back a couple of unusual varieties, like a cane sugar version of it and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
So that was really cool for us, yeah. And like he would sometimes have Dr. Pepper in either his username or his password, or if you'd like upload an avatar for some user account, he would sometimes use the Dr. Pepper logo.
Yeah, I remember you and your brothers having Dr. Pepper swag at various points in high school. Also, I think Michael Yura had a Dr. Pepper shirt. But it was like a common thread of Dr. Pepper discussion.
Yeah. And John Green, we've talked about John Green, the author and vlogger and podcaster before. One of my favorite things he's done is this podcast, The Anthropocene Reviewed, which we talked about one of the episodes for, I think it was our New Year's episode. We did a New Year's special. And we talked about Auld Lang Syne, his episode about Auld Lang Syne on the podcast, The Anthropocene Reviewed. But one of the first ones he talked about was Diet Dr. Pepper. He's a Diet Dr. Pepper enthusiast. And ironically, or maybe like counterintuitively, he likes that it's so artificial. He likes that Diet Dr. Pepper is like several layers removed from any real natural flavor. In fact, the original Dr. Pepper flavor was not based on like a natural flavor, but based on the smell of soda fountains. So the guy who invented it is like, I want a drink that tastes like the way soda fountains smell. I want a drink that actually tastes like that smell. And so he invented Dr. Pepper to do that.
That makes sense, because they say allegedly it's 23 things mixed together, and who knows, but it does have, like, my description would be, it doesn't taste too different from cheerwine. I think a prominent one of the flavors is cherry, but there's like other things in there that make it distinct enough to be its own thing.
I agree. I think cherry is the prominent note. So not too long after they ditch Trixie, they get into what is going to be their climactic con, their big con for the movie. And that is basically swindling this bootlegger. So I was a little confused, Brian. I thought, when was the Prohibition Amendment lifted?
Yes, so let's talk about that, because it threw me too, but they do explain it in the movie. So Prohibition was repealed when FDR came into office I guess he was elected in 1932 and came into office at the beginning of 1933. So by 1936, Prohibition over. You could drink in America. But what they say in the movie is that this county that they're in is a dry county. So some places still had blue laws. Some places you still could not buy alcohol, but it was on like the state and county level. It was not a federal law. So throw it back to the states, right? That's what they say about certain things.
Gotcha. So this is a state law that banned alcohol still.
Right.
And at this point, they're right on a state border. That's kind of like an important point, because any crimes they commit in one state, they can't be arrested for in the other state, which that didn't seem right to me. I was kind of confused by that.
I know less about that. I mean, you do hear about jurisdictions, but I wonder. It's like, maybe it's not illegal over on the other side. Maybe it's like when you buy fireworks in Pennsylvania and they say you just got to get it across state lines. Who knows?
Interesting, yeah. So anyways, they're like near the state line. So their idea is basically they're going to swindle this bootlegger and then drive across the state line so they're safe. And so at first it seems like it goes perfectly. So basically what they're doing is they detect that there's some bootlegging going on. They kind of scope out this place, and then Addie spies on the guy they think is responsible for transferring the bootleg liquor, and they realize he has it hidden in this shed. So they steal some from the shed without this guy knowing, of course, because they're stealing it. They're pulling it out. And then they tell the bootlegger that they have liquor to sell him and agree on a price and go to a meeting place. And so Mose and Addie sell back this guy's liquor. And it's for a lot of money. Do you remember how much it was, Brian? It was like several $100s, right?
Yeah, like $600 or something.
Yeah. So the scheme is sell it to him. It's real liquor, but it's just his liquor, and he hasn't realized it's not in his shed yet. But what they don't know is that the bootlegger is pulling a fast one on them too. So immediately the police start chasing after Mose and Addie. So the way that the bootlegger is pulling the fast one on them is that he's the brother of the sheriff, and he immediately reports it as a crime. And the sheriff is kind of in on it. So the sheriff is going to arrest Mose and Addie, get the money back, and give it back to the brother, the bootlegger brother. So like, okay, now essentially he's gotten free booze out of it, because that's what the bootlegger is going to get out of it. Is I'm going to get the free booze out of it. I paid money, but I immediately get the money back because the sheriff arrests them and takes the money back because it was from a crime. So the police can confiscate it or whatever. Okay. So they do get arrested. So this is what happens. This is what happens at first. And what's incredible is that Addie hides the money in her hat. So they're looking for, where's the $600? We know that you just did this exchange for $600. We've arrested you on this. But where is the $600 that you got from selling bootleg liquor? Moonshine, they call it. And the whole time it's like this tense scene because the money's in the hat and they're like tossing the hat around and like, oh, is it inside the hat? But they don't like look in the right part of the lining to see it and stuff.
Yeah, it's really good tension because for most of the movie, she's had money in like a cigar box. And then at one point, I guess we learn there's a fake bottom on the cigar box, but we see the cops check the box. And then we think, oh, well, he must not have just found the fake bottom. But then like he looks at it again and finds the fake bottom and it's not under there. And then we learn, oh, she's got it in the hat. And the next thing is the cop grabs the hat and is like looking inside, you know, the underneath of the hat where the head goes. And it's not there either. And it's like she's slipped it into like the layers of the fabric of the hat.
And the way that this gets revealed is a really cool shot because we see Benjamin Franklin, like the face on the $100 bill peeking through like a little gap in the lining of the hat. And so it does this slow zoom on Benjamin Franklin's face and her hat. And I thought this was a terrific shot. But they can't find the money, but they're still going to hold them for now. I don't know exactly what their plan is, but basically Addie comes up with this way to get them out. She gets her stuff, including her hat, and is like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. And as she does that, she steals the key for the car. So the car, of course, was confiscated as part of the arrest. And so now she has the car key, and when she goes to the bathroom, she basically like gets her dad to go with her, and they like rush out. And then they get in the car and then they're driving away and the cops are chasing after them and they need to drive away. And like, they're doing like slick U-turns, like skidding fast turns that look like it should flip the car over. But it's shot as if they're really in this car. Like you're really seeing these cars doing this driving. And it really looks like it's Ryan O'Neal doing the driving. I was kind of blown away that they managed to get it because these are some impressive car stunts. I wonder if anybody was hurt during this.
And if you can't picture these cars, it's like King Kong cars, you know, mid-30s, where it's open top. They're like buggies, like sort of like Model Ts. Not quite that old school, but, you know, very like open top with like the spoke wheels.
And so there's this whole chase and they like drive around some farm equipment. And well, okay, now we need to like make ourselves disappear. So how do we make ourselves disappear? Well, we need to trade this car for a different car. I guess you could just do that, trade cars. I mean, I guess you could today, right? I don't know.
They do say they've got the title for the car. So it's the same way that if you bought a car on Facebook today, you're like, oh, well, I got to get the title. And sometimes they don't even have that. And I don't know how it works then. There's definitely shady car deals that are possible to make.
Yeah. But they drive to this farm with this family of hillbilly types. And they're like, look at this really nice new car I just bought. I'll trade it for your beat up old truck that's worth a tenth of this. And they're like, nah, you can't haul nothing in it. We're not going to trade it. You can't haul nothing in that old car you got there. And so Mose says, well, I'll wrestle you for it. If I win our wrestling, then you got to give me the car in the trade. But if you win, you can keep both cars. I love this. I love that it came down to wrestling.
Yeah, very convoluted. And then the result is that he wins the wrestling. But of course, by this point, like he was beaten up by the cops. He comes away for the better in this fight with the hillbilly, but like his face is trashed by this point, and the reward of him having won is he gets to leave in this truck that basically doesn't work.
It's just the worst.
It has no brakes.
This is funny. He's like, hit the brakes, because Addie's driving. And she's like, the brakes don't work. And I was like, what kind of car has brakes that don't work? Like, that's how you know.
And what I've realized is I think a hallmark of the road movie is that it gets better if the car falls apart over the course of the journey, because that's what happens in Goofy Movie.
Oh, great point.
That's what happened in this one. That's what happens in Little Miss Sunshine. is that by the end, you've got the horn that like can't stop honking and the doors fall off the VW bus.
When you said that, I was even going to bring up Little Miss Sunshine like you just did. That's one of my favorite gags from that movie. Is they have a dead body in the trunk, but they're trying to get away with the dead body. And the horn, so he smashes the horn because he's frustrated, but the horn doesn't stop honking. So it's a nonstop horn honk when they're driving down the road in Little Miss Sunshine. And it's so funny to me.
And I thought that was so brilliant, just that whole construct that it's getting worse and worse with the car. And I thought of it as like singularly associated with that movie, but no, there are other movies that kind of do that too.
Staple of a road trip movie. I think you're right. It's a good way to generate conflict.
Right, and there was some in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, of course, but they've got multiple vehicles. But when they have the car, it falls apart.
That's right, yeah, like the windshield in the burnt up car. Whether it's road safe, the cop asks them.
Do you consider this road safe? Well, yes, officer, I do.
He like can't even see outside of it.
It's all melted. All the gauges are melted.
What percent of movies, Brian, would be improved with a wrestling scene?
Yeah, it's a genre that needs to take off, the wrestling film.
At least like 75% is what I'm thinking. So they get across state lines. Like, oh, we made it. We're in the clear. But then the cops show up, the ones that they escaped from. And the cops are like, and he's like, well, you can't arrest me. You know you can't. We're in another state. You can't do it. Case get thrown out. He's like, no, but we can make things bad for you. We can make you hurt. And then beats him up real bad. So we don't actually see it cuts away just as soon as he's about to get beat up. But eventually Addie, because remember, he and Addie are riding high right now because they just successfully escaped. They got the $600. They got out of the state, so they should be safe. And I think they're planning their next con or something when this happens. And this is kind of heartbreaking for Addie because like just when things were going good, the dad flakes out. Except, of course, we know he didn't just flake out. He got ganged on by the cops from the other town. But eventually Addie finds him and he's essentially in a gutter. You're right. He was already kind of a little beat up, but now he's really worse for wear. Like blood dripping out of his nose and stuff and bruises all over his face. And this is kind of like the breaking point. So it felt like things have been building towards, oh, maybe they can just keep doing this. Maybe they can make it last, Maybe this is a sustainable father-daughter relationship where they drive around the country, they con, they get into misadventures, and they get out unscathed. But no, this is like the reckoning with reality. It's not just that they lose their money, because the cops do steal the money back in addition to beating him up. And it's not just that he got beat up, but it's like things don't go right in this Great Depression world. Things can't last and go upward, upward, upward. It's like this sour return to reality after things had been going well. And so he's like, well, I guess I do have to dump you off at your aunt's, I can't be a dad. Some of this he says aloud, and some of it you can just tell from the context, And so that's where things head in the final 10 minutes. And it's very sad because you're rooting for them now. You want them to be together. They're good. They complement each other. And that's kind of, again, the undercurrent of all of this is like, maybe they really are father-daughter. They have similar demeanors and desires and instincts. So it makes you think they really could be father and child.
Right. I will say I liked that they didn't make the aunt nasty. Like, when it's first brought up that she's going to go live with this aunt, Tatum O'Neal says, oh, I don't want to go live with her. I got no connection with her. She's not going to want me to suddenly be living with her. She's, basically she's going to be irritated and treat me badly because I'm imposing on her. And we don't know how it's going to go when she gets over there. We don't know how well the aunt knows this girl. But then when she does get there, the aunt's like, oh, I've been waiting for you. I saw your telegram and I've been wondering what happened.
Exactly.
She seems like a genuinely nice person.
Yeah, she's like, oh, here, let me give you lemonade. Let me take care of you. oh, you know what? There's other kids here. You'll be friends with them. This will be just so fine. I'm sorry this has been so hard for you, but you know what? You're in a safe home now. It's like exactly what you want to hear. The easy way to do it, you're right, would have been to make the aunt mean and be like, oh man, now she's stuck in this horrible orphanage or something. But like, this would be the happy ending, you know? She's going to be in a more stable environment than she ever would have been with her mom or with Mose. Except no, she doesn't want that. She runs away and she runs back to the car as Mose is driving away. But Mose could have fully driven away, but he stopped. And the reason he stopped is because he found a little envelope that Addie left for him. And what's in the envelope is the picture of her at the paper moon with him not next to her. She needs a parent in her life, and he could have been that guy. He can be that guy, Brian. And so you're right. We see the paper moon picture without him in it, in contrast to the poster. And he stops just long enough to see Addie is run out of the house to come find him. And then they drive off into the distance together.
Right, in this car that can't stop, and they go rolling down the hill into this beautiful extreme wide shot where it's this empty road that the car goes way, way off into the vanishing point.
And I know I just jokingly said that like movies would be better with wrestling, but to a slightly more serious one is most movies that end with a car driving off into the distance feels like the right ending. When a movie ends that way, that feels like the right note to me pretty much all the time. I'm always satisfied when that's the final shot of a movie. It's in Dazed and Confused. It's in
Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3, it's a good one. It's in a lot of movies. So, but the gag where the car, because they're still driving that beat up old truck, the gag where it kind of slides away from them, it made me actually think of a Goofy movie, because that's basically exactly what happens in a Goofy movie before it goes in the river. It's like they're talking, they're debating, and then the car just goes rolling away, and so they have to go chase after it. But yeah, Paper Moon, Brian, 1973, Oscar winner for Tatum O'Neal's performance. We did it.
That's right.
We did Dad Month.
Do you feel fulfilled? Have you learned something? Is the way that you are a dad going to change it all, having gone through Dad Month?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's changed, but it has been fulfilling. It has been gratifying to watch different dads and see these characters reckon with the complexities of bringing more life into this world.
Counter question. Do you have other things to say to the listeners? Wisdom you want to impart about being a dad?
Well, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm an experienced or good enough dad to be like imparting parental wisdom. But I guess what I would say I find valuable is being present, being reliable, and remembering it's not about you at that point. Like in your relationship with your kid, it's about what is going to make your kid happy, satisfied, and a productive member of society. So in some cases, that is like modeling being yourself, you know? It's not to say dote on them and give them what they want all the time, but it is to say whenever you're taking an action or doing something, at least what I try to do is think about what would be good for my daughters right now if I did it. Would it be me standing up for this thing and let's say like we disagree about something? Is it capitulating and saying, you know what, it's not worth getting into an argument with you about this thing that doesn't ultimately matter. What's more important is that we have a healthy relationship, and also important, hey, you got to make your own decisions about how you're going to do things. And so I'll let you go ahead and make that decision, even though it's not what I want or not what I would do. But other times you kind of got to come at it like, oh, I need to teach you the right way to do this. And that's why it's hard. You don't know what the right answer is. And that's, I guess, something I'll pass on is parenting is not easy in any regard. It's not easy to do the things that you know that you need to do, but it's also not easy to know what the right thing to do is. And that's one thing I've kind of appreciated about many of the films that we've watched. I would say all of them to one degree or another, even Ghost Dad, is figuring out what is the right thing to do that helps your kid, you know? that what is the right decision for being a good dad? And I don't know those answers. I try to do my best with them, but I guess that would be my last thought on me being a dad. You know, we talked a lot about our dads, so I'm glad that you gave me the space here to reflect for a moment on me being a dad.
Oh yeah, gotta hold space for Dad Month. I was thinking about, what do they say in The Office? I ask myself, would an idiot do that? And if the answer is yes, I do not do that thing.
Good advice. Would a good dad do this thing? Yes or no? I mean, honestly, not too far off from that. Any other Paper Moon thoughts before we rate, Brian, and wrap up this paternal theme month?
Well, it's part of the rating, but I think it's well put together. It's like stylish, and it's charming, and it's nice. I recommend it.
Yeah. So I'll talk us in, and we can elucidate further on that, because I agree. Is It Good is our signature section where we each give the movie a rating on our 8-point goodness scale, ranging from very not good, which is a 1 out of 8, to our masterpiece rating toward a good, which is an 8 out of 8. So Brian, is Paper Moon good?
I'm going to land at a 6 out of 8, which we call very good. And the central performances are strong. I mean, when it turns from a 2-hander to a 4-hander, even that is pretty good, but it's really all about the father-daughter pair. And, you know, it's got that extra dimension that they really are related. And this is like a tour de force of a parent and daughter who are both actors and playing out that relationship that, oh, he's got to be the father. And it's funny because in the story, it's suddenly thrust on him. He's got to be this paternal figure. But my biggest takeaway watching it now that I didn't catch the first time is just how good the camera work is. And I feel like they must have developed some new technology for this to be showing it off as much as they are. But it's like every scene, okay, let's have the characters be walking and the camera is going to walk with them and show off that it's these long uncut takes and it's this steady movement of the camera. And, you know, it's like in doing this, it shows off that the acting is good and that the camera is good because it's these long uninterrupted takes. And they find nice ways to frame things too, as in that final shot where it's the endless horizon. But where do you land, Dan?
I agree with your points, Brian. I opened our discussion by pondering, is this a dark movie? Is this a movie that you would watch at a beach house? Which would imply that it is not too dark of a movie. Although I watched the Lighthouse, and that was much memed, and that's got some psychological intensity, let's say, in there.
You watched The Lighthouse at the beach house?
I did, yeah, with my sister, who gave it a 0.5 star on Letterboxd. She was not a fan. But I think it strikes a really nice tone to make it really watchable. It's not so light that it feels consequence-free or like without heft, that they're con men stealing from people in this Great Depression where everything, society feels just a little more ramshackle, you know? You never know how long you're going to drive down the road until you find a place that you feel safe to stay, etc. But it's definitely fairly breezy because, first of all, the movie doesn't get weighed down too much with the fact that they're doing crimes, because it's like you're rooting for them. You're happy for them stealing little bits of money here and there and making a living off of that. And, oh, the people they do big cons on are either so rich that they're not going to miss the money, or bootleggers who are corrupt. So you don't care if they lose $600 or whatever, you know? And I do think it's good that they have a reckoning towards the end that, hey, this is like real life and things don't work out pretty, especially if you're stealing from people, you know, those things catch up with you. But I just think it's an immensely charming movie. You're right. It's absolutely gorgeous from a cinematography and direction perspective. Just really a treat to look at and well edited. And it's hour and 42 minutes long, but it kind of zips real nicely. Great paced. The performances, man, they're so good. I just really loved Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal and their chemistry and their rhythms. And Ryan O'Neal's got this like almost, I thought a little bit of like Chris Pratt, kind of. He's got like this boyishness to him. It's very charming, but it's mischievous too. He's a handsome guy. He's fun to spend time with, even as he's kind of sleazy. And then, yeah, Tatum O'Neal is just absolutely terrific. Definitely upper tier kid performance. And Brian, we talked about how it's left ambiguous whether they are in fact biological father-daughter. And I kind of like that. I don't like it when movies place too much emphasis on biological parent-child, like genetic connection, because, you know, some people can't have kids for one reason or another from a biological perspective. But like, what really makes a parent, a father, a mother, is being there. And I felt like this movie towed the line just right of them wondering about it and being like a charge in their relationship, but not being the point, because the point is that when they're together, things are better for them. They have companionship. They have a dad taking care of a daughter, and I don't know. I just liked it, and I found this extremely charming as a film. I'm going to give it an exceptionally good, probably mid-tier, exceptionally good. It's not. I don't really have any complaints about it, to be honest. It just didn't quite get up into masterpiece territory for me, but it is really charming, and I would recommend it to pretty much anyone. Like, I honestly think pretty much anyone could watch this movie and like this movie. It's just extremely charming, and it's got a good balance of conflict and character and stuff happening, but also it's not heavy. It's a sweet watch.
Right. It's very solid. And two other things I wanted to say. It reminded me of Sullivan's Travels that we watched, where that one was specifically like a Great Depression road movie. Yeah.
Good call.
But another thing that really shone about this movie was the soundtrack. It was like all kinds of these period, you know, like Little Orphan Annie era radio tunes. And like the radio was very central. You know, oh, you listen to the radio to hear fireside chats. And I've got my own radio that I take around with me, even as a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
like
she's
that's
like, that's where pop culture comes from in the 30s is there's no TV yet. You know, maybe sometimes you go and see a movie, but like the thing that's present in your home is the radio.
Yeah. It's I liked that a lot too. I liked that that she was very excited to listen to the Jack Benny comedy show. And there's like they kind of feud a little bit at the beginning, like, I don't listen to that radio when we're getting ready for bed. She's like, I want to listen to Jack Benny. And it's kind of like the equivalent of today of like kids want to watch SpongeBob. I want to watch SpongeBob. I don't turn on the TV, you know?
Yeah, it had me also thinking about how, 1936 was like 27 years before 1973. So that would be like, you know, something 30 years ago. So like 1998 was 27 years ago. So a period piece made today that took place in 1998.
Well, hold on. You said how many years?
Was it?
It's 37.
Or am I off by a decade? Am I off by a decade?
I think it's 37, right? 1973 to 1936.
Okay. Because
you had 30. You get...
No, I think I'm right. Let me see. 1973 minus 1936. Oh, 37 years. You're right. Okay, so 88. 1988.
Okay, now what's 20? Yeah, 2025. Right, because I'm going to turn 37 this year, and I was born in 1988. So this would be like a movie set when I was born, Brian.
Okay, so I was wrong. You're right. Still not all that long.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, there would be people watching this movie who remembered 1936, is my point, even though I'm bad at math. So it's sorry if that was a struggle to get through, listeners, as you're cringing as I fail at basic subtraction.
Well, Brian, I'll tell you, as someone who majored in math in college, one of the downsides of majoring in math is if you ever mess up mental math, people will be like, wow, the math major messed that up for the rest of your life. You're not going to avoid it. So if I ever mess up mental math, wow, math major.
Well, you didn't. You got it right, so well done.
Yeah. So, but you know what? I'm not going to hassle you for it because you're not a math major, Brian.
Thanks.
But Brian, that wraps up Dad Month. We did it. We made it through. It was a good month. And now we are on to the great unknown.
Yes, the shackles are off. We could pick anything. I was struggling at first as what did I want to talk about? Sometimes the well of ideas is shallow. You got to replenish every once in a while. But I had a movie cross my Facebook feed. The algorithm fed me a movie, as was the case back in the day with, say, Max Magician. I don't think this is quite at that level. I don't really know. It may be. The vibe that I'm getting from it is more Last Day of Summer with Jansen Panettiere. But I want to pair this one. So the one that I just learned about is called Splitting Adam. So the child's name is Adam, Adam, but he winds up split. We wind up with clones of Adam, and there are many Adams. And then another movie that is out and about in theaters right now, brand spanking new, from Korean director Bong Joon-ho, is called, what is it, Mickey 17. It's got Robert Pattinson and mini Robert Pattinsons in some kind of science fiction shenanigans. There's clones of them. So that's the double feature, Mickey 17 and Splitting Adam.
It's Clone Week. All right.
Yes. So we may have to actually go out to the theater. I don't know. I might. That was the guy's speech, the indie filmmaker in Anora at the Oscars, was he says, you got to go to the movie theaters or they're going to die.
Yeah, that was, I think, when for Best Director he did that. One thing that I heard speculated is he may have not had 4 victory speeches prepared. So he might have had to like wing it. Like he was probably planning to end on the go to theaters. But like by the time he was up there for the 3rd time giving a speech, he was like, oh, dang it. I guess I'll go with the we got to save cinema one now. But if I win Best Picture, what am I going to say? I don't know. But here we go. So he did that one for Best Director is we got to go save cinema. But yeah, okay, cool.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Rare that I assign a brand new movie. But I'm curious. We know Bong Joon-ho makes some interesting stuff.
Yeah. Well, this should be fun, Brian. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. Thank you, listeners, for joining us on Dad Month. And we will see you on the other side.
Yes, join us again. It's always a good experience, even if the movies aren't.
And you can find us on thegoodsfilmpodcast.com. We have a Discord. We'd love to hear from you. Chat with you. Come find us there. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Bye.